Hi, I'm Jeroen Coussement, CEO of Factry, and welcome to the second edition of our Industry Insights series. Today we will be talking about self-hosted versus managed IoT solutions. In today's data-driven world, a significant amount of industrial data collection is happening with self-hosted systems, whether on-premise systems or on systems that are hosted on dedicated server resources in the cloud. In the recent years, however, an alternative has emerged under the form of cloud-native managed IoT services from major cloud providers like AWS or Microsoft Azure. In this video, we will be talking about the pros and cons of both approaches based on our experience at Factry and what we see in the market. Specifically for cloud systems, connectivity used to be a big concern. However, that has since long been fixed. Internet connectivity has become extremely reliable, and constant connectivity issues have become a thing of the past. While for some control applications, a direct on-premise connection is still required for mission-critical applications, for other applications, the distinction between on-premise or online has become less important, if not irrelevant. Also supporting this is the fact that a lot of companies over the past years have already made the transition to cloud-based systems for other application areas like office applications or ERP systems. Cost is often a defining factor when choosing an IoT solution, if not the decisive factor. When looking at cloud-native managed IoT solutions, we typically see pay-per-use models in which the cost is based not only on the volume of data being stored, but also the volume of data being transferred and the amount of query resources that are being consumed. This can quickly lead to higher costs, especially when we are talking about the volumes that are typically collected within a manufacturing context. Self-hosted systems, on the other hand, are typically a bit more expensive to get started, but they do offer a more manageable way of cost scaling in the sense that the cost doesn't grow as hard in function of the amount of data that is being collected. As a result, we've noticed that the managed IoT solutions are a great way to get started, but as companies grow, they typically experience these higher costs and they look for ways to consolidate their cloud services, which might lead eventually to a return to self-hosted systems on dedicated server resources. When talking about IoT platforms, we obviously have to address security. A myth we often encounter is that on-premise systems are inherently more safe and secure than cloud-based systems. While that might have been true 10 years ago, cloud technology has evolved in such a way that most of these issues have been addressed and mitigated, making them equally, if not more, secure than on-premise systems. In fact, today it's often the other way around. We all know that one Windows Server 2003 machine that has been sitting there for years doing its job with nobody paying attention to it. Such a system, lacking regular updates and attention, is more vulnerable for intrusions than a cloud system which is always up to date. When talking about security, we also have to address some legal aspects. We noticed that it's not always important for production companies, but sometimes it is important for company policy. Data moving and sharing and storing across continent boundaries can be a point of attention, which is rarely addressed by major cloud providers. So it's really something to look out for if you're choosing an IoT platform. When looking for IoT solutions, almost all companies face the dilemma of choosing between the cloud-native managed IoT platforms versus the self-hosted approach. Managed IoT platforms offer ready-to-use solutions that are tailored to specific needs. Big names such as Azure IoT services might be costly in the end, but they do offer easy configuration and a quick deployment, which are a great way to get you started. On the other hand, they do tie you into that provider's ecosystem forcing you to rely on them if you want to expand or connect the application to others later on. A downside that is less prominent with self-hosted, often more open solutions. Ultimately, we often see a combination of both approaches. The bulk of the data is gathered with a self-hosted system, while auxiliary data sources are connected using the cloud-managed IoT services. This results in having the cost benefit of the self-hosted solution while being able to rely on the great tooling of the managed IoT services to connect additional data sources. At Factry, we always emphasize the importance of starting small with a big vision in mind. So whatever you choose, also consider future scalability. While your initial needs might be limited, data volumes in a manufacturing context can quickly become massive. So it's important to plan ahead to avoid complications in the long run. For example, the pay-per-use models I already mentioned, they can quickly become prohibitively expensive. Also consider the openness of the systems and the flexibility to move to a different approach later on. You never know if that would become relevant. Finally, seek the guidance of experts and already established industry use cases before getting started. If you can avoid some common pitfalls in the beginning, it can save you a lot of time, money, and trouble in the long run. Measure twice, cut once, as they say. And that concludes our insights for today. Feel free to hit us up on any of these topics if you want to discuss them further, or if you want to see how Factry can help you and your company to tackle these challenges. Thank you for watching.